Today, I just realized this is really bright. I don't know if you'll be able to read that, so bear with me. I have a little game to play with you guys. Might be a fun game, might be a tough game, but bear with me. Thomas Aquinas, once upon a time, wrote of different things that would commonly keep people stuck in their life, that would commonly be defined as an idol in their life. And these are areas where they cannot move past this, or they commonly return to this. And the four areas that he identified is wealth, pleasure, power, and honor. Wealth in the sense that if you want to do anything in life, you need money to do it. It becomes a matter of how much you have and who controls it. Pleasure in the sense that you seek pleasure to avoid pain, whatever takes the pain away and allows you to avoid thinking about it. Power in the sense of saying the phrase, I have the right to blank. Power determines if you are and how you can protect what you have and fight for what you don't have. And honor in the sense that you desire for recognition and appreciation for what you do, who you are, and why you do it. So the game that I have for you today is we're going to eliminate the things that you do not feel are really tough portions for you until we get to our final one. So take a moment, think through it. If you're able to you don't have to shout it out either. I'll just give you a few moments. Amongst wealth, pleasure, power, and honor, which one does not apply to you or serves as the most difficult for you? Raise your hand if you got it. Cool. And this might be a little tough, but take a picture of this and think about it later too if this is something you want to reflect on more. So after you have just 3 left, which one next could you say is not as big of a deal for you? Take another few moments. All right, last you have 2 left. Which one do you feel like you can just deal with? It's fine. You can get by with it. It's not going to be a lasting problem for you. Take a few more moments for that. All right. Got it locked in your head? So what Thomas Aquinas would say with this kind of test is, this is your greatest idol in life. This is the area that you return to and get stuck on. This might change all throughout your life, but for me, when I look at this list, I'll share with you, I get stuck on honor. Growing up, I had a huge problem with people rejecting me or feeling like I was a failure and feeling like I needed to live up to a mythical standard. So when I look at this description of honor, it's the desire for recognition and appreciation for what you do, who you are, and why you do it. I think to myself, man, if I don't get that, I just get bitter. It gets gross, and I get stuck in this cycle of thinking I have to achieve and earn affection. And this might be different for each of you. It's not that one is greater than the other. It's one is greater than the other for each individual person. What we think of when it comes to sin, when it comes to an idol, a lot of the time we get so fixated on this idea that sin is just lying, cheating, stealing, sexual immorality, murdering, pride, envy, wrath, or gluttony. But what sin also is this idea that you are turning good things into idols. It's turning work or talents or family, sports, music, social media, hobbies, friends, self-image, food, spiritual leaders, or romantic relationships into something greater than God. As you know, this past week there was a movie that came out, the Minecraft movie. Anybody seen it? That's okay. I heard about it. I've not seen it yet, but the thing that I've heard is that kids are going crazy and throwing stuff all over and sabotaging theaters just because of a few scenes in there. It's all over the news. But I thought I was reading this article about this main villain inside of the movie. And they were sharing how the motivation for everything that they were doing stemmed from being rejected very early on in their life. They were made fun of for a talent that they were practicing, and then they said, if I cannot be appreciated, no one can be appreciated. I will quash all creativity. And that is the premise of the entire movie. St. Augustine wrote in his book, what are called vices in the soul are nothing more than privations of natural good. In other words, our God is a good creator, and all evil can do is try to distort or damage what is good in creation. Evil is inherently uncreative. And this character in the Minecraft movie is also wounded and is acting out of the woundedness. She wants to stop everyone around her from being creative because her own creative expression was ridiculed during her formative years. This is what sin does. It starts with a hole. It starts like a vacuum. The image that I had come to my mind was this idea of a black hole. I might have a unhealthy interest in like what black holes do. Like they're fascinating. They make no sense to me. How did we even discover this in the first place? How do we know what this even looks like? It's fascinating that it's billions and billions of miles away, but we're still able to discover what this does. There's this big implosion that happens in a vacuum in space, pulls all light in. It's called a tidal disruption event, where light is distorted and bent and turned into this big mess, where some of the light is propelled out into space like that big cone, and the rest of it swirls around until it's eliminated and eaten. This is what sin does, friends. Sin becomes a hole that destroys you from the inside out, but it also destroys things around you as well. Sin is not a victimless crime. It affects you, it affects your family, it affects your friends, it affects your workplace, wherever you go, what you carry with you, what you are craving, what you are objectifying in response damages everything around you as well. I found the lyrics from the song Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden very appropriate here. The author of this song wrote that in an interview when trying to describe the song. He said, it's funny because hits are usually some sort of congruent or identifiable, there's an identifiable lyric idea. The song is pretty much nothing. It doesn't make any sense. I only focused on the title of the song. The goal was just to sing the title. Everything else was meaningless. He said, other than that, I sure didn't have an understanding of the song when I wrote it. I was just sucked in by the music, and I was painting a picture with the lyrics. There was no real idea to get across. He continues to say, no one seems to get this, though. But Black Hole Sun is a sad song. But because the melody is really pretty, everyone thinks it's almost chipper, which is ridiculous. It's really interesting. Just like it sounds really upbeat. Sin feels really, really good. But there's something ugly going inside as more is required. Today, as we look at 2 Samuel 13, I want you to see this in light of what we're trying to understand throughout the entire series of the broken and beloved elements. As imperfect as we may be, our perfect Savior invites us to come to him, broken but made whole in him. And what I'm titling today is Black Hole Sin, not just Black Hole Sun. We're seeing that sin is like a black hole. Great devastation around us, great devastation inside of us. Through the big idea that the greater the good, the greater the potential for evil in its abuse. David, up to this point, he's gone from shepherd boy, nobody, the last son, the runt, to anointed, to become king. David goes from shepherd boy to warrior, from warrior to commander, from commander to right-hand man of the king, and then to fugitive, rebel, criminal. He becomes a warlord, and that warlord turns into the king of Judah, who eventually becomes the king over all of Israel, as we see in 2 Samuel 5. David continues to conquer all the enemies around him. And then he's given an everlasting promise that all of his dynasty past a certain point will lead to an everlasting kingdom. David continues to practice justice and righteousness until he doesn't in 2 Samuel 11, where he pursues sin instead of the Lord. And David reaps the immediate consequences of his sin. But he receives tremendous mercy. He has a son pass away. He hurts many people around him. His influence is vast in what he has done. But the Lord forgives him immensely and draws him back to himself, but expresses that there will be lasting consequences because of your influence. And this is what we'll see today. And I'll give you a warning. Today, 2 Samuel 13 is not a happy chapter. It's a hard chapter for me to even preach on. There are very sensitive things ranging from sexual violence to premeditated murder. So I just give you that warning before we begin. I know we don't have any kids in here right now, but I just want you to know this is a pretty intense chapter. There are two major reasons to reflect on this story, though. There is the punishment according to David's actions through how his sons emulate his father. There is also the neglect of problems that happen in this text that sets the stage for the rest of 2 Samuel. So you see two problems that stem from the root issue of discipline. David did not discipline his own character, nor did he discipline his children. So his children watched his example. His children said, if he could do it, I could do it. And perhaps I could do it even better. Matthew Henry writes, godly parents have often been afflicted with wicked children. Grace does not run in blood, but corruption does. So, what is the example, friends, that we are setting for the next generation, for our children, because they are watching? What are they learning? And second, when our children err and go the wrong way, and when they refuse to do anything, when we refuse to do anything about it, that neglect leads to future problems. In the same sense, neglect in any fashion will lead to our perspectives and perceptions continuing to warp over time. This is where that theme of idols comes from. It's like a black hole when we don't follow the fourth command. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or in earth below, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing children for the sin of their parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to thousands of generations to those who love me and keep my commandments. This is not just about a generational curse. This is your children in the next generation watching you. If they see you saying the wrong things, doing the wrong things, practicing a lifestyle that runs contrary to what is holy, they're going to do it. They're going to follow you. That's why it's hard to discipline your own children a lot of the time when they're doing exactly what you used to do as a kid or even do today. That's why we may be so frustrated at this current generation where we say, why do you talk that way? Why do you do these things? What does mewing even mean? You ever hear that phrase before? I heard it just recently. It means you like push your tongue up and extend your chin out. That makes no sense. Anyways, bear with me. We get frustrated at the next generation because we likewise were just like that. But it's really important that we keep disciplined our character so that what is watched and what is practiced well. So 2 Samuel 13, verse 1 says, Now David's son Absalom had a beautiful sister named Tamar, and Amnon, her half-brother, fell desperately in love with her. Amnon became so obsessed with Tamar that he became ill. She was a virgin, and Amnon thought he could never have her. And it starts in a really interesting way where we're just in the desire phase. The desire does not turn into action, but Amnon is so focused on what he wants and understanding what he cannot have, so much so that he allows his body to become desolate. It becomes noticed pretty immediately when his friend comes up to him and says, one day this friend, Jonadab, says, What's the trouble? Why should the son of the king look so dejected morning after morning? This verb is literally saying, why do you look so thin? Why do you look so pale? Why do you look so sickly? Have you ever met somebody or felt that way where you want something so bad and you just feel like you got a headache all the time? Your stomach hurts. Your back hurts. But you're really fixed on something that you really, really, really want, whether good or bad. This is Amnon. He can't have her because she is practicing a life of chastity. She is saving herself for a specific marriage. She's living under the law. She dresses in a specific way. She's guarded by specific people to protect her. He can't have her. I'm not sure if this is exactly how she would look, but she would be a royal princess that was protected. So Amnon said, when responding to why he looks this way, I'm in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. Pay attention to the degrees of separation here. What does my brother Absalom's sister mean? My sister. Why do you have to say brother Absalom's sister? So you see this degree of separation. He's trying to create the justifications. He's already starting to work out a plan. Verse 5. Well, Jonadab says, I'll tell you what to do. Go back to bed and pretend you are ill. This pretend you are ill is a very unique verb in saying, do something to make yourself look even worse so that everyone else notices around you. Make this happen yourself. And when your father comes to see you, ask him to let Tamar come and prepare some food for you. Tell him you'll feel better if she prepares it as you watch and feeds you with her own hands. This is worldly advice, friends. This is crafty. It sounds wise on the surface. This is what self-help does. Be the best you that you could be. Do whatever makes you feel good. Live your true experience. Go for your truth. You ever hear those phrases? They're dangerous, friends. Solomon, one of David's sons later, would write in Proverbs, why be captivated, my son, by an immoral woman? Tamar's not an immoral woman in this phase, but goes on to say, or fondle the breasts of a promiscuous woman. For the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path he takes. An evil man is held captive by his own sins. They are ropes that catch and hold him. He will die for lack of self-control. He will be lost because of his great foolishness. This would be great advice to give to someone who is fixed on the law. But Amnon is not fixed on the law. He's not fixed on godly advice. He's not fixed on godly wisdom. He is fixed on what's in his head, saying, I want this. I need this. I want to be happy. So Amnon leaps at this advice. Amnon laid down and pretended to be sick. And when the king came to see him, because Amnon was important, Amnon was the first child. He got all the spoiled affection from the father. He says, please let my sister Tamar, again, now he's saying sister. Pay attention to these words too. He says, my sister Tamar, come and cook my favorite dish as I watch. My favorite dish is literally heart-shaped bread, which would usually be either medicinal or erotic. And I think Amnon is hoping that David would see this as the medicinal side. But both hands serve here. He wants to watch her make this bread, then I can eat it from her own hands. So David agrees and sends Tamar to Amnon's house to prepare some food for him. Neither David nor Tamar have any reason to question Amnon's motives in this moment. So when Tamar arrived at Amnon's house, she went to the place where he was lying down so he could watch her mix some dough. Then she baked his favorite dish for him. But when she set the serving tray before him, he refused to eat. Then saying, everyone get out of here, Amnon told his servants, so they all left. How many red flags have shown up here? Anybody a little nervous at this point? I mean, I'm feeling for Tamar here. I'm thinking why? Why do you want to be alone with me? Are you sick? Can you not eat? Are you embarrassed? Are you going to throw up? Do you not want people to watch you? All the questions that could be going through her mind, they make sense, but she stays. And this is the last chance that pops up. Then he said to Tamar, now bring the food into my bedroom and feed it to me here. So Tamar took his favorite dish to him, but as she was feeding him, he grabbed her and demanded, come to bed with me, my darling sister. Hear that phrase, darling sister? It's changed again. But I want you to hear this even deeper. Darling sister is actually an affectionate term that is used in ancient Near East cultures in poetic language to describe how you were giving absolute devotion to a wife. And to clarify that you will never divorce her, most times the man would adopt the woman into his family, saying, I can't divorce family, and I can't divorce my wife now. It is a sign of absolute security. So what Amnon is doing here is he's saying, my darling sister, he is skipping to the enjoyment of full commitment without committing in the first place. He wants the fruits of a committed relationship without committing. But in wise words, Tamar says, no, my brother, don't be foolish. She's calling his character first of what could happen. Then he says, don't do this to me. This is the immediate effect of what's going to come. Such wickedness is not done in Israel. This is a practice no one does. Don't do this. Where could I go in my shame? And you would be called one of the greatest fools in Israel. This is the reality check. Do not practice this. Don't do this. I plead with you, she is saying. She says, please, just speak to the king about it, and he will let you marry me. She's looking for the lesser of two problems. The law would forbid this, but this is a far greater evil if Amnon is to pursue this. She's providing an alternative route. This is his final warning. And often we have these final warnings all the time in our life. When you want something so bad and it's burning inside of you and you get to that moment where you can practice this, you've made a plan up to this point and you're about to commit to it, but you have that last little lingering, I know how I'm going to feel after this. I know how this is going to hurt me. And sometimes you'll have somebody else speaking into your life saying, don't do it. What happens when you do it anyway? Here's what happens. But Amnon wouldn't listen to her. And since he was stronger than her, he raped her. The word literally is he laid her. It's no longer with her, it is he laid her. Then suddenly Amnon's love turned to hate, and he hated her with an even more than he had first loved her. This is lust switching into the victim is the problem. I'm not the problem. You're the problem. It's the way that you dressed. It's the food that you made. It's the act itself. That's the problem. I'm not the problem, is what Amnon would be saying here. So he says, get out of here. He snarled at her. No, no, Tamar cried. Sending me away now is worse than what you have already done to me. You're going to exasperate the problem. Let's fix this. You've already violated me. You might as well marry me at this point and care for me as you have already done a great damage. But Amnon wouldn't listen to her again. Instead, he shouted for his servant and demanded, throw this woman out and lock the door behind her. It's horrible what happens here, friends. Because what happens here, Tamar is a royal princess. She is no longer of any value. In this culture, she would be left a desolate woman, struggling to find somebody to care for her. But what we do with sin, friends, what Amnon is doing here is saying, again, I'm not the problem. My victim is the problem. I don't want to look at my victim anymore. I don't want to remember my sin anymore. I don't want any reminders of this anymore, so I lock the door, send her away. We do that all the time as well. We sear our own consciences and say, it's not really that bad. It could be worse. I could murder somebody. I could do something extremely terrible, but my sin is not so bad. And those sins build up. We create more locks and say, we're not as bad as we think we are. This is the practice of the godless. when you say, I'm not so bad, and justify that somebody else is the problem or something else is the problem instead. So we look at the victim of this sin. So the servant put her out and locked the door behind her. She was wearing a long and beautiful robe. This robe is similar to what Joseph would have worn in ancient times in Genesis, a beautiful coat, long sleeves, sometimes with great colors to express favoritism, to express value, to express beauty. The custom in those days was for the king's virgin daughters to wear this. Now Tamar tore her robe and put ashes on her head, and then, with her face in her hands, went away crying. I'm sure she's heading back to her house where Absalom is. And Absalom asks, is it true that Amnon has been with you? This is a pretty key question here. How does he know right away? A lot of people or commentators might say, maybe it was a conspiracy. I don't want to even go there because I want to say Amnon's character, because of how thin he was, and because of his devastation of himself, because he was so fixated on Tamar, his character became known to other people. And it was assumed by Absalom that Amnon had done what he should not have done. So when he says, well, my sister, keep quiet for now, since he's your brother, don't worry about it. Anybody comforted by those words? Okay, let me explain that. Keep quiet for now is essentially saying, you don't have to seek for justice. You do not have to find your justice because I'm going to seek justice for you. Since he's your brother, essentially is saying, because he's the firstborn, it's going to be super hard to find any judgment against him. Our dad is going to say, I'm not going to do anything to my firstborn because he's the next king to come. He's going to be excused. Verse 21 adds this extra bit in the Septuagint as well as the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's a little addendum that says, but the king did not punish his son Amnon because he loved him, for he was his firstborn. Favoritism blocks discipline in punishment. No, that's neglect. It's indifference. And it creates allowance for future problems. So when he says, this is your brother, she's not saying, get over it. He's saying, there's going to be difficulty. Don't worry about it because I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to bear the problem. You can live in my house and I will care for you. It's a beautiful thing in this moment, and we see an imperfect sense of justice to come. Because what Absalom is about to do is take all forms of vengeance and revenge into his own hands, where God will say, vengeance is mine. This sense of justice is better practiced by Jesus in the future when he says, don't worry about sin because I'll bear it. Don't worry about all of this evil because I'll bear it. There's great enemies in this world, but I will bear it. This is an imperfect picture of justice to a future perfect justice to come. So Tamar lived as a desolate woman in her brother Absalom's house. It's not a happy end for her. And when King David heard about it, he was very angry. But then it skips on and says, and though Absalom never spoke to Amnon about this, neither good nor bad, he hated Amnon deeply because of what he had done to his sister. I mean, does it help if somebody just gets really mad and does nothing? Like, what does that do? You see angry posts all the time on Facebook, right? Does it fix anything? No. This is essentially what David does. He might have posted on Facebook, I'm mad at Amnon. That's it. 2 years pass by. Nothing is done. Tamar is still desolate without justice. Amnon gets away with it and gets to live scot-free. David is probably still a little angry here and there, but does nothing. And Absalom is planning. Nothing is done until Absalom's sheep were ready to be sheared at Baal-Hazor near Ephraim. Absalom invited all the king's sons to come to this feast. He went to the king and said, my sheep shearers are now at work. Would the king and his servants please come to celebrate the occasion with me? Now, this is kind of an impossible request. He's saying, Dad, can you just bring all your sons 15 to 20 miles out from the kingdom to celebrate with me? And bring all your servants and bring yourself with you too. Like, that's hard to do, to upend your entire life and go to this celebration. So he starts with an impossible request, and David replies, no, my son, if we all came, it'd be too much of a burden on you. Absalom pressed him, but the king would not come. He said, it says, though he gave Absalom his blessing. So Absalom says, well then, if you can't come, how about sending my brother Amnon with us? Any red flags yet? David catches it too. He says, why Amnon? But Absalom kept pressing him. He doesn't answer the question until he finally agreed to send all his sons to attend, including Amnon. You have David's blessing, just as Amnon received the blessing to have Tamar come and serve Amnon, and this tragedy first happens. Likewise, Absalom receives this blessing to have Amnon come, and we'll see what happens. So, Absalom prepares a feast that's fit for a king, this great, lavish meal, a drunken fest, a place of merriment, a place of celebration. Absalom told his men, wait until Amnon gets drunk. Then at my signal, kill him. Don't be afraid. I'm the one who has given this command. Take courage and do it, you sons of valor. This is a military command to strike down one foe, his own brother. As terrible as he is, this is a really intense form of premeditated murder to seek justice on yourself, for yourself, or for the sake of Tamar. Verse 29, so at Absalom's signal they murdered Amnon, and then the other sons of the king jumped on their mules and fled. And we see this devastation of gossip that comes right afterward. Gossip is a killer, friends. The saying goes, gossip is the evidence that we are not interesting enough to tell the stories that are our own. And then truth gets twisted. Messiness comes from it because even if the truth is shared, you still have the element of what one first believed. And you can no longer weigh what is true and what is not. You're in the middle of chaos. So verse 30, as they were on their way back to Jerusalem, this report reached David. Absalom has killed all the king's sons. Not one of them is left alive. The king got up, tore his robe, and threw himself on the ground. His advisors also tore their clothes in horror and sorrow. Why did David react like this so fast? Why did he believe this? When you look at him at the beginning of 2 Samuel, anytime devastating news came, David questioned it thoroughly. He did not believe the information immediately. Just like when we look at any kind of breaking news, we don't have to believe it immediately because there's more information to come, right? If you believe everything that comes out on the news immediately, you're going to get whipped and whirled in all kinds of a mess. David believes this because he anticipated a fearful situation to come about. He knew the hatred between the two brothers, but he said, maybe it'll be better. Maybe it'll be okay. But he also knew that it could go sour. But just then, Jonadab, if you remember him from the beginning of the story, he rises up. He's the he's the son of David's brother Shimei. He was probably in David's court of advisors. He arrived and said, no, don't believe all the king's sons have been killed. Only Amnon was. Absalom has been plotting this ever since Amnon raped his sister Tamar. No, my lord the king, your sons aren't all dead. It was only Amnon. Any red flags here? Insider information. Why do you know this? How did this happen? And it doesn't change the fact that someone is dead here. It may lessen the blow, but still the firstborn son is dead. And then meanwhile, Absalom escapes. The watchmen on the Jerusalem wall saw the great crowd coming down the hill on the road from the west. He ran to tell the king. He said, I see a crowd of people coming from the Horonaim road along the side of a hill. Look, Jonadab told the king. There they are now. The king's sons are coming, just as I said. He justifies himself in this moment. Maybe he thinks my previous advice that led to devastation is blocked out by this less devastating news. He was the cause of this to begin with, but really, the true cause was David. David's example led to his sons being both murderer and adulterer. It's a chip off the old block. The sons soon arrived, weeping and sobbing, and the king and all his servants wept bitterly with them. And David mourned many days for his son Amnon. Friends, revenge never ends. And as we end this chapter, did Absalom's vengeance solve anything? Amnon's dead. But it creates future problems for the entire kingdom. It creates devastation upon devastation. It turns into that black hole effect where the problem doesn't stop. So when you think of in your own life, when you are wronged, when something unjust happens in your life, does seeking vengeance actually solve anything? Does writing an angry Facebook post about somebody you dislike, which they'll probably see as well, does that solve anything? Does sharing gossip about somebody actually solve anything or create future problems? This is the chaos of sin. And the complications do continue. Absalom flees to his grandfather, Talmai, son of Ammihud, the king of Geshur. He stayed there in Geshur for 3 years, and King David, now reconciled to Amnon's death, longed to be reunited with his son Absalom. This is a picture from a movie that they think Absalom might have looked like. He was presumably a very beautiful person, which will be heavily emphasized throughout the rest of 2 Samuel. All of David's kids apparently looked beautiful. It's a very common descriptor. But verse 39 is very tricky in the Hebrew because it means a lot of things all at once. There's a lot of double entendres that happen. Now reconciled to Amnon's death is coupled with the idea that he never stopped grieving. He never got over the death. Long to be with his son Absalom is also coupled with the idea that he wanted to seek justice against the death of Amnon. But he also wanted to see his son at the same time because he loved his son. And this son now became the heir apparent. He would be the next king. This tumultuous element of helplessness is here at the end with problems left unresolved. This godless chapter leaves us wanting more, and it reminds us of what we need. We need the promised king that is talked about in 2 Samuel 7, that will reign forever. We need the Christ that is talked about that will save us from our sins, as is said in Isaiah 53. We need the true king that will reign over all the nations, where everything is going wrong and there's too much pain. The true king will come and rule over all of that. God will be near to us as we were made to be near to him, as is said in Isaiah 7. When it says Jesus will come, he is Emmanuel, he is God with us. We were made to be in relationship with him, and he draws us back to himself. We need that total defeat of sin and death, where death no longer has its sting, and death no longer has its victory. We need total defeat over earthly and spiritual authorities, subjecting them to himself, namely Jesus. Jesus becomes the true king over all. This is what we need, and this is what happens when Jesus comes in to Jerusalem riding on a colt, and everyone is shouting, Hosanna. What are they praising? This, that Jesus has come. And all of the pain that we bear, all of the problems in life, he conquers. Jesus, friends, changes everything. There was a famous singer called the Donut Man some time ago that once said, without God, life is like a donut and may be good for a time, but at the center will be empty. and without substance. So what Jesus changes is this. He fills us and makes us whole people. He makes us truly alive. The Holy Spirit who cries out in and for us in troubled times will fill us and give us hope again. Changed lives will be changed completely by the Spirit, and having the same mind among ourselves to be like Jesus will become evident. We will live absolutely differently. We will recognize what doesn't belong. We will be able to identify what is godless and holy to Him. And the separation between God and us is closed by the love of Jesus Christ, where nothing will separate us from Him. At this time, I'll have the ushers come up. We'll be practicing communion in just a moment. The big idea, friends, is this. The greater the good, the greater potential for evil in its abuse. When there is more regard for our idols, friends, and more regard for sin than God, we have no reason to regard morals or ethics or rules as relevant. You cannot throw the Bible at somebody who does not even value God in the first place. When everything terrible, when we reflect on everything terrible that has happened in 2 Samuel 13, as well as the tragedy of the things that we see today, we see a greater and greater need for a Savior. We find our grounding, friends, though, in Jesus, who defeats sin and death, as well as changes our hearts. We are filled with the Spirit when we trust in Him. We are changed to become more like Jesus. Our influence affects the whole world when we are following Him and emulating Him. What I want you to see, though, is this. Our propensity to harbor and hide sin is setting yourself up for failure. You cannot contain it. You cannot control sin. You're not going to beat it. God does see it. You are destroying yourself no matter where you are in your walk with Christ. If this is true of you hanging on to a secret sin, I pray, please let it be exposed today. Don't let it linger. Don't allow shame to multiply. Meet with a trusted friend and mature friend in church. Confess it early. Don't allow the corrosiveness of sin to warp your character and hurt many around you in your wake. Turn to Jesus and know that He is calling you to be born again, to be different than that harbored sin. Become more like Him, friends, every day. I challenge you to train your brain with this. Direct, object, and subject yourself. Jesus teaches us to pray, Our Father in heaven. This is saying, I can't do it. I can't fix myself, but you can. I appeal to you, Father in heaven. Object yourself, saying, may your name be kept holy, both in my character and in my actions and in my words. Let me practice that life of holiness. Let me represent you well. May your name be kept holy. And then subject yourself. May your kingdom come soon. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is saying, I'm appealing to you. I'm giving myself to you. I can't fix myself. Forgive me and let me walk with you. Pray this prayer. Jesus has instructed us to do this. This is what changes us and makes us become more like Him.